guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to show you how to make a cute zippered pouch, and these are going to be the materials that you're going to be using. This is a zipper from Hobby Lobby. It's $149 and it's a 7-inch zipper. They have these in the sewing section, so definitely check them out. They do have a bigger size, but today we're going to be using a size 7 or 7 inches. You will also be needing 2 hook sizes, a number 4 and a number 5 millimeter hook, and any old size number 4 yarn. Today I'm going to be using this yarn that I got at the thrift shop, and I'm going to go ahead and try it out. To begin, we're going to slip knot and go into our hook. We're going to start with a number 4 hook. So we are going to begin right here, right where the zipper begins, and we are going to place our hook in there, yarn over, and make sure your tail is on the other side, and make our first single crochet. We're going to go into the next space, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. And we're going to work our way around the zipper, and I'll show you what to do when you get here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this and I'll be right back. We are at the end of our zipper, and you should have 31 single crochets. Once you get here, instead of putting a single crochet on this very last hole right next to the zipper stopper, you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to go into this space right here, and this is where you're going to put a single crochet. I'm sorry for the noise that the zipper is making. Hang on, let me grab onto it. And then you are going to work your way on the other side of the zipper, and you should have 31 single crochets. So I'm going to start working on this side of the zipper, and I'll be right back once I get to the other side. I'm at the end of the other side, and if you see here, we put a single crochet right next to this zipper stopper, the metal part. So we're going to do the same thing over here, and you should have 31 single crochets on each side, not counting the 2 chains that you did right here. So now we're gonna close it up. I just put it down so that it was easier to maneuver. So we are going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we are going to slip stitch right here on that very first single crochet that we did. Your zipper should look something like this. For this next part, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my number 5 millimeter hook. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, and you're going to do a single crochet on this very first single crochet. And I would recommend getting a stitch marker because we are going to be working in the round. So this is the first stitch of that row. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work a single crochet row all the way around the zipper. And this is going to be our foundation for our pattern. Okay, we are at the end, and I am working on that very last single crochet before the chain. So now I have 2 chains right here, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets in here. I'm going to work my way around, and I'm going to put single crochets all around. So that's just what you're going to do. Once you get to the chain 2, you're going to put 2 single crochets, and you're going to do the same thing over here. And then we're going to go into this very first stitch that we marked, and we're going to slip stitch. We're going to chain 1, and now we're actually going to be working on the pattern. Now this next row is the row that is going to be on repeat. You're going to do a single crochet on that very first stitch. You're going to mark it. And for your next single crochet, you are going to insert your hook on the stitch underneath, on the row underneath. So you would typically go here on this V space, but you're going to go here, right here. And let me point it from the other side so that you can see. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to finish your single crochet. Your next stitch is a regular single crochet. The following stitch is going to be worked in the same manner, and that's a spiked single crochet. So instead of going into the V space or that gap here, you're going to go one row under. Yarn over, single crochet. Next, regular single crochet. You're going to go underneath, regular single crochet, spiked single crochet. Guys, I'm sorry. Let me see if that works. Single crochet, spiked single crochet, and this is what you're going to be working all around. So I just finished working the last stitch on the zipper side. So I finished with a regular single crochet, and the next stitch is a spiked stitch, and it's on that first stitch on the chain 2 space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the chain space, work the single crochet, the spiked single crochet, and on that next one I am going to do a regular single crochet. So then the first stitch on the zipper side is going to be a spiked single crochet, and then a regular single crochet, and then I'm going to be working that all the way around. I am at the other edge, and the last stitch on the zipper is a spiked stitch, so I'm going to do a regular single crochet. The single spiked stitch is going to be worked inside this chain 2 space, and now I am going to go into the marked single crochet and slip stitch here, chain 1. So for this next row, you are going to skip this first single crochet, and you're going to go on to the next one. And you see how this next stitch is a spike stitch on the row below? So you're going to put a single crochet, and this is going to be your first stitch. You have a single crochet here, so you're going to do a spike stitch, a single crochet, a spiked single crochet. So essentially what you're doing is for every spiked single crochet, you're going to do a regular single crochet on the next row. And for each regular crochet on the previous row, you're going to be doing a spiked single crochet on the current row that you're working on. Okay, so for the next round, this is your first stitch right here. You're going to slip stitch, chain 1, and you're going to skip it, and you're going to go into the next one. In this next one, you're going to do a regular single crochet, and that is going to be your first stitch of the round. If you are in doubt, make sure that you count your round. You should have a total of 66 single crochets or stitches throughout your rounds. For this pattern, there is no specific number of rounds that you have to do. I would just recommend whatever it is that you are going to be using this pouch for, just make sure it fits. So if you're going to be using it for like pencils or makeup or whatever it is that you're going to be using it for, just make sure that it is deep enough to hold your stuff. And that's it. I'll show you how to seam the bottom once we get there. And one more thing, this bag is customizable for the edges. If you see here, these sides are very thin, but if you would have wanted a thicker or a wider bag, you could have done 3 single crochets right here on that chain 2 space. Also, another thing that I would like you to keep in mind, the fabric here, well, you can't really tell that much because it's very, it's just a few rounds that we worked in, but you don't really need a lot of lining. You don't need a liner for this. For the purpose of what I'm going to be using it for, I am okay using a 5mm hook. But if you're going to be putting in things that are smaller or that are pointier, maybe for a pencil bag, you could use a 4mm hook just to make sure that there aren't any gaps. So I am leaving this purse at 6.5 inches long. You're gonna have to leave the length times 2 approximately. Since we're working in continuous rounds, you might have noticed that our starting point for every round is different and it's going to be scooting over 1 stitch. In case your bag is shorter, your finishing point will be somewhere in the middle of the bag. So what you're gonna have to do is cut off a 4-inch tail, 5-inch tail, and you're gonna have to do an invisible fastening off method. And the way to do it is I show it here, but I'm gonna quickly go over it. So when you finish the last stitch and you cut the yarn, you pull the hook away from the piece until there's no loop left on the hook, and then you thread a needle with the yarn tail. Skip the next stitch and insert the needle under the top loops of the stitch after that, from the outside to the inside of the piece. Before pulling it tight, insert the needle under the back loop of the stitch that the yarn tail came out from. Pull the yarn tail tight enough so that it's in the same size as the other stitches along the rim, and then you weave that end. So that way it ensures that the bottom of the piece all looks the same, so it's easier to seam it together. The way that I seamed it together is, since I ended at one of the corners of the bag, what I did is, after that invisible joining or fastening off, I scoot the needle to the edge of the bag. But you don't have to do that if you did an invisible joining method, because now you can just get a long piece of yarn and you're going to start sewing the pieces together. I chose to sew the pieces just by going into the inner loops of both sides. Once you get to the end of the piece, make sure you weave in the end. If you have 2 ends to weave in, weave both of them in. What I did is I put the needle through the inside of the bag and then just flip the bag inside out, and I wove in the ends on the inside of the bag. Don't forget to weave in the first end that you had, like right on top of where the zipper is. Weave that in as well. And in case that the zipper is acting out and coming or poking through the top of the bag, what I did is I grabbed a sewing thread and needle and sewed the 2 pieces together, and then sewed that entire piece to the inside of the crochet bag. That way it doesn't poke through. Just in case it is poking through, maybe your zipper is shorter and it's just being rebellious, but that's one way of putting it, keeping it inside of the bag. And these beads I got at the Dollar Tree. I think there were something like 15 pieces, 20 pieces for 125. So that's a heck of a deal. The clasp I already had, so I'm just repurposing it. And I really like the idea of repurposing old keychains. I don't know how many of you guys have keychains from when mom and dad or auntie went to a foreign place and they're like, oh, this is cute. Let me bring 50 keychains. And then you have keychains from all the travels that all of your relatives and your friends have come from. With time, they do wear off and the charms fall, but you do have the key rings, so use them, repurpose them. So here I'm just going to quickly show you how I ended up just making a little charm with the beads and the tassels. Nothing big, nothing outlandish. It's really simple, but if you do have a better way of doing tassels, definitely follow your way. This is my first time actually doing a tassel for a charm. I've done pom-poms and those were easier to make. I don't know why this tassel gave me such a hard time. But this is the end product. I really love it. It's so cute. And it really doesn't need a liner since the stitches are packed in there. But if you really wanted to get your stitches closer together, use a 4mm hook. I just didn't do it because I'm using regular acrylic yarn and I felt like an acrylic yarn with a 4mm hook was going to make my hands hurt and I simply didn't want to go through that. So I don't need the stitches to be too tight. So this is perfectly fine. So if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.